Good morning, it's 10 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and begin the webinar. This is Victoria Beal with the Ohio LTAP Center. We're very pleased to be able to host the webinar this morning with Catherine Robertson, who's going to be our presenter on the TIMS system. And we are attempting to record the webinar. If we're successful, we'll post a link to the recording on our YouTube page and also provide it to everybody who had registered for the webinar. A couple of housekeeping items. We have muted everybody in anticipation of the We've muted everybody in anticipation of Catherine's presentation, but we would ask if you have questions that you either enter them in the chat pod. It's the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and if you're not seeing a chat pod, you should see a circle with a thought bubble in it. Go ahead and click on that, and you will then hopefully have the conversation panel open up where you can put your questions into. Also, since we have not a huge audience on the webinar this morning, if you're interested in asking your questions, via the phone line or the headphone set through your computer, just go ahead and put a message in the chat pod for me and I will unmute you so you can ask your question and then Catherine can respond to it. With that, I believe that's all the housekeeping items I had. This webinar is supposed to be focused around questions that you have regarding the TIMS system, and I know there was one that was submitted ahead of time, but I'm hoping, similar to our GCAT webinar a couple weeks ago, that those of you on this webinar will have lots of questions for Catherine to answer about the TIMS system and help to build the contents of the webinar in addition to just the general explanation that I know Catherine plans to give regarding the TIMS system. So with that, Catherine, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, all yours.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So today we're going to look at the TIMS application, Transportation Information Mapping System. And right now you should be seeing the ODOT homepage. And if you scroll down a bit under Maps and References, there'll be a link to TIMS. And then you can see the URL here. You can bookmark that if you like, or even just Google ODOT TIMS, and this should be the first result. So TIMS, you can think of TIMS as ODOT's publishing portal for all of the GIS and mapping information related to Ohio's roadways. We have a lot of information that's maintained. Oh, sorry, tried to make that stop blinking. Maintained by different offices throughout ODOT, as well as we bring in reference information from other sources that we think would be useful. And the whole goal is what it says at the top of the page, to provide you better data to help you make better decisions. And you can see the page. The TIMS application is split between 6 pages plus the link to the crash data search tool, which was formerly called GCAT. There are separate webinars just for this tool. I believe they just had one yesterday, so you can always check with LTAP and register for the next one there. A few housekeeping items before we dive into the different pages within TIMS. Let's look at a few of the links here at the bottom. So we have our contact link, and that is where you can find an email address that will go to the TIMS support team, myself and a few others here in the Office of Technical Services. And you're welcome to send feedback or questions or any technical issues. Everything's welcome there, and someone should get back to you pretty quickly. And the help link will open a PDF user guide that you can search through or look just to get some reminders or a quick reference. All the tools should be covered in this help guide if there's something that we didn't get to today. And then finally, the news link should be updated with all the upcoming TIMS training classes. These are all the LTAP managed training classes, so you can click each link to register for an in-person class, and that will be in a computer lab setting, and we'll walk through the TIMS application and can really work with people one-on-one to go through their questions and their scenarios, or see the schedule for more upcoming webinars. So let's get back to the home page, and this TIMS logo at the top left will always get you back to the home page. And we'll just start with this first button and take a look at our project search page. So of course all the work that ODOT does is managed through a project ID number, and all of that is stored in another application called Ellis. So we bring in the Ellis information here in TIMS and try to provide some search tools to help you find the projects that you're working for. And today we'll start diving into some of this data. First, I'll note you can see if I change the number of results that are viewed on the page, it'll fit nicely for this training. And you can see I'm just viewing 5 records of over 61,000 records. So that's the total number of Ellis records that it has brought through into TIMS. And you can see that sometimes one PID will have multiple work locations. So in TIMS, it'll be shown as multiple records. And hopefully you'll understand more about that as we start diving into the data. So today I'm going to start with the primary work category filter. And it's a drop-down list, so you can just expand that list and scroll through, or you can start typing to filter it. Picking something a little different today to look at, and we'll see if we have any building demolition projects going on. So you can see it automatically filtered to 62. We have 62 projects in this Ellis system for the primary work category of building demolition. And let's add some year filters to see if there's anything going on right now. And you can see that got us down to 3 entries, and we have one project ID in Lucas County and then 2 records for the same PID in Hamilton County. And if we wanted to get more information on, say, this first record, the icon to the far left, if you hover over, it'll say View Details. You can click on that, and it will take you to the project information page where it just pulls out all the attributes into a table format. Hopefully it makes it easier to scale through, and you can get funding information and construction date information. Down towards the bottom of the page, you'll see hyperlinks to get to the project plans. And this is, I believe this is the question that someone submitted before the webinar, that they'll click these hyperlinks. It'll take them to the digital paper application, and a lot of times they're finding that no documents were loaded there. So unfortunately right now the way that we bring this information into TIMS is we generate that hyperlink, and right now we don't really have a way to check in digital paper if there's a document there or not. We get asked about this a lot, so in our next phase of enhancements we are really looking into making those hyperlinks smarter. If there is a document, you'll see the record here. If there's not, it would still open this page, but it would just be blank. So let's see. Can select the record, and depending on which ODOT district the project is filed in, or the work is happening in, they upload this information differently. So in this situation it's a PDF. Other times it will open directly in the screen, and then I think you have the option to export as a PDF. But whatever format, it should come out looking like this. You'll get your engineering drawings and all the information for that project. So it looks like here they're going to have to demo a house to expand and add a new intersection. We'll go ahead and close this out now. And I'll note that the digital paper application is managed by ODOT's Office of Contracts. So if you have any specific questions on why a project is not showing, doesn't have its plans uploaded into digital paper, you can contact that office directly, or Tim support can always be a liaison. If you're not sure who to contact, feel free to contact us and we can forward you to the right people. Okay, now if I hit the back button to go back to my, oh, well, while we're here, we should do this. We have two links at the top. View in Ellis will take this PID number and pull it up in the Ellis Proj database. That's their web interface for the main Ellis application, and they've just revamped it. So if you hadn't been there in a while, you'll see that this looks totally different. But it shares the same information, hopefully a little more streamlined. And the other link will open the Create a Map page, and we'll hold off on that one because we're going to spend a lot of time there. So if I hit the back button to go back to the project search page, you'll see that it should remember the queries that I entered last. So my results table should look the same. And I wanted to use these three projects as an example to show you the behavior for our shortcut, the project search by PID shortcut that's always available on the title bar. So we have two PIDs in our results table, and one of those PIDs has two records. So let's first search by that first one and see what happens. I have them noted, so I'm actually going to start from the home page so you can see how that behavior would work if you started from the home page. So 109, 128, and you can see my browser settings are remembering the last PID that I searched. Hit enter. So it brought me directly to that project information page since I only had one record. And now let's go back, and if I enter that other PID, 1103, and again you can see that I've entered that before, so hit enter. And because there are two records, it brought us back to this project search page where you could pick an individual one. So it's the same PID, and when you go to that project information page, the attributes should be the same, but of course we have two different locations, and you can see the information for those locations here in the route and the log points. So that should give you a good description of that. So now if you've been searching and you want to just clear everything out, you can hit your reset buttons. There we go. So now we're back to viewing just 5 records because I set it here in my drop down for records per page, and it has the full 61,000 records loaded. So another way that we could drill through is with the drop down list on the other side. You can pick your district, and anywhere you see a blue question mark icon or this magnifying glass icon, you can usually hover over for some more information. So this is telling us that District 13 will represent a statewide project, so it only has 12 districts. And once you've selected a district, you can see that it has filtered out the counties included in that district. And now the PID drop-down list will also be filtered out. If you wanted to scroll through or start typing to filter there, you could do that. Let's look at a couple of things that you can do now in this results table. You can sort on any of these fields just by clicking the column header. And you can filter out by route. If just by knowing that we're always going to have 5 characters in our route field, you can use the search box, which is the generic search tool to search all of these fields that you see available. But if you use the 3 leading zeros and the 2, 4, and again, you can expand your records. So now if I scroll down and find those, the building demolition project that we saw in our first search, can find it here and select. And if you want to select multiple records, you just keep clicking. You don't have to hold down Shift. And then click again to unselect. And now we're going to take this project over to the Create a Map page. So I have it selected, and I'm going to click View in Map. Let's see, I had something else in mind, and I always lose track when I get in here. So I wanted to pull up if I have two routes. Oh, I know. Let's keep our 2019. There we go. So now I'm looking at two projects for this calendar year in Lucas County, and I did this search by Route 24, but you can see that I have a US Route 24 and a County Route 24. So let's select both of those and see how it looks when we take it over to the map.
Catherine, while you're doing that, I'm just going to remind everybody on the call that we're happy to take their questions either in the chat pod on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. If you don't see the chat pod, click on the circle that'll be there with the thought bubble in it to display your chat pod. Or you can feel free to just put a comment in the chat pod and I'll unmute you and you can ask the questions directly. Thanks.
Thanks, Victoria. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions and I can dive into something that is more important for how you guys use TIMS every day. But in the meantime, I'll just keep going through. So now that we're over on the Create a Map page, you can see that it's brought my project records through as this table. So somehow it's brought through another additional one. But that's okay. And you can see I can resize to view that pane. I can just hover over the gray bar for that results table pane, or I could hide it. And you can see my base map is this dark gray. It's remembering the last base map I had chosen when I visited TIMS in my browser settings. So we can look at the three tools in the top right little menu bar. Our options for setting a base map would be the first one, and I'm currently looking at this dark gray. Streets is usually the default, and everything above this line, these are products maintained by Esri, and that's our software vendor for the mapping tools behind this application. And below, these are Ohio agency products. So ODOT base map is very similar to the streets base map, but it's something that we can have control over. And then OSIP is Ohio Statewide Imagery Program, where they fly the state and collect aerial images on a 2-year program. So you have the two products, or OSIP Best Available will automatically pick the higher quality for that area. If you wanted to, we'll put it back to streets for now. If you wanted to print what you're viewing in the map, we have just a very basic print tool, and that will generate a PDF. Pretty simple, but it lets you print out what you're viewing in TIMS. And then the final tool, the share tool, will generate a URL that you can copy, send it an email, and they can click it or paste it into the browser address bar. And that URL will remember the area that you were zoomed into and the layers that you had turned on, and you'll see that it even remembered our query of the projects there. Okay, so with our results and our results table, you can, again, just like on the project search page, you can sort by clicking any of the categories or column headers. You can zoom to one individual record. Each record will have a zoom to feature button at the far left. The zoom to results at the top will get you back to the extent of all the records in the results table. And you can choose which columns you're viewing. Some of these tables have a lot of attribute fields, so you can narrow those down with this tool. Toggle on, it will turn them all off. And then we're going to choose a few relevant fields. So PID, district, project name, primary work category. Let's get our construction dates. And if you want to see a full list, a larger list of all of the fields and what order they are in, our data glossary page is a good place for that, and I'll make sure that we visit that today before we're done. Let's get our NLF ID and our log points. There we go. Now it's a lot more clear what we're dealing with in our results table. And each column header will have the question mark hyperlink, then you can click on that to get a field description. So primary work category indicates what actual work is being done. And you'll see that it shows each table in TIMS that has that same column title. And we get a lot of questions about why our projects are divided between points and lines, and that just comes down to how the locations are recorded in Ellis. If we have a start log point and an end log point, we will map the full extent along the roadway, and so you'll have a line geometry. If only one log, beginning log point is provided, that will come through the map as just a point. So say for a bridge work or culvert work, that's just going to be one log point location. That's how that will show on the map. Okay, so if we want to dive more into our building demolition project, which is the one that I've highlighted right here, we can remove these other two from our project results table. So this X, remove feature from selection at the left. We can do that on both of these, and there we're left with just our one project. We can minimize the pane so we have more real estate for our map. And let's see, we looked at zooming around in the map. We talked about these three tools and how to zoom to the records from the results table. Then we have these couple of basic tools right in the top left corner. The home button will take you to the full extent of the state of Ohio. And then of course zoom in and out. And there's also the same mouse navigation tools that you would get in any other web map. You can use your scroll button, you can double click. And we're going to again use that zoom to feature from the table to get to this area. Click again to unselect. Okay, so now we want to go through the functionality that we have here in this Create a Map page, and all of that is going to be organized in this Tools pane on the left side of the screen, which again you can expand or decrease or hide. And the toolbar at the top, let's hover over each to get a description. So we'll have our set visible layers, where you turn layers on and off and can view the legend for what the symbols represent. We have our find locations tools. These are different ways of searching the map, and you can think of them as zoom to tools. Then we have our identify features. This tool, you activate this tool and then click on a feature in the map to get all of that attribute information in the pane here on the left. Then we have a set of tools for measuring, drawing, adding a bookmark for a certain location, and links to our PathWeb and a map channel product. And we'll see each of those soon. Then our filter data tools, that has the funnel icon, different ways of querying the layers, and we'll look at each of those. And then the final one, add data to map. If we have time, we can show you how that works today, where you can just bring in another reference layer. If you have a spreadsheet with addresses or coordinates, or a KMZ file from Google Earth. So let's go back to our set visible layers. And there's so much information that we pull into TIMS. We won't be able to touch on everything today. So if there's a certain layer that's of interest to you, please add it to the to the chat, and I'll make sure that I can spend some time on that one. We have some tools up at the top that you can expand all of these to see all of those layers. We'll turn on a couple in our assets category. These are ODOT managed assets. Let's do outfalls. Let's view some of the assets happening around this project location. Let's turn on our culverts. And then I think signs might give us some good examples as we use some of the other tools. And again, I could collapse all of those, expand with all with visible layers. We'll just expand the ones where I have layers turned on. Okay, so I've turned on a few layers, and you can see next to the assets heading, it's telling me how many I've turned on. So if I switch over to my dynamic legend tab, I'll get a description of what each of those symbols represents. And now if we want to, well, let's go in order. So let's look at the different ways that we can zoom to areas in our map. Of course, the first one, find address. That's going to default to the address of central office. Just to give an example of the format that it expects. So you could click find. It'll zoom to, there's me sitting right there. And you can clear that out. You can type in an address. Let's see, 6426 Door Street in Toledo is the location of that project we were looking at before. So it'll get us back. Similarly, if you wanted to do an intersection, you would just put the street name and then an ampersand or spell out and then the intersecting street. Okay. Find latitude and longitude. If you have a latitude and longitude, you can type those in or paste those in and zoom to the area that way. Or I really like this tool for reporting coordinates. So if you activate the tool by using the click on map button, and then you'll see you have your crosshairs icon. Again, click anywhere in the map and it will give you the lat long. You can switch the format to degrees, minutes, seconds. And our find log point tool works the same way. If you know a log point, you can navigate through the drop-down lists. So again, you can always filter by searching. And if we want County Route 24, and you'll see it gives you a tooltip of the valid log points for that portion of the route. So I think if we did 6, there you go. It'll drop the flag on that portion of the roadway. Or you can report the log point by activating the tool with the click on map button. And you'll want to just click over a roadway, even if it's even if you don't have a roadway layer turned on and you're just using the reference of the base map. Click on the roadway and it will find that geometry behind the scenes and give you the county log point. If there's a state log point, sometimes that's available. And again, it'll give you the coordinates. Okay, our final tool, find area. That's just going to let you pick a polygon boundary, a county, a planning organization, an ODOT district, or an urban area. And it would just zoom to that area. So that's a good, if someone mentions a planning organization, you're not sure what that territory is, this would be your go-to point to find that out quickly. Okay, so our third tool in the toolbar is identify features. And as I said before, you'll activate this tool and click anywhere in the map and you'll see it draws the selection polygon, and then any layers that you have turned on that intersect that selection polygon, you'll get the attributes reported over in the tools pane on the left. So you can see in the drop down, it found individual features in each of these three tables in that selection box. So you can toggle between them just by clicking from the drop down. And then there are multiple features in each of these layers. So I can zoom in a little more so you can see. There you go. So you can see we have 3 sign inventory points within that selection box, and I can toggle between them. And you can scroll down to view all of the attributes. We get a lot of questions around, how are the attributes ordered and why are there so many? And again, we always leave that up to the owner of this data. So whichever office within ODOT is out collecting all of the sign inventory, and they have many fields, they tell us what they want to have visible. So sometimes it can be information overload, but when we look at our data glossary page, hopefully that will be a good tool for you to find the field that contains the information that you're looking for. And if we link to other systems from within a table, there will usually be the URLs down towards the bottom of the table. So you can see for signs, we link to our PathWeb system, and you can just click on that link. I was in it earlier today, so we'll try again from the other tool that we have. Scroll down further, and with all of the assets that are collected and inventory inspected through ODOT's collector program, if attachments or photographs are included, you'll see links for those here. And again, you just open. So just like the question that we had about the project plan URLs, these attachment URLs are generated whether there is an attachment available or not. So hopefully in our next version we can make that a little smarter. For now you just have to click. If there are attachments, this is what you'll see. Just click on the link. So in this case it's a drawing for the plans of the signs. Okay. Let's go through a couple of the tools. Let's see if PathWeb will work for us here. So I'm going to activate the tool just by clicking on it. It'll look like nothing happened, but just like with the Identify tool, I clicked it to activate, and I know it's activated because I have my crosshairs icon in the map. So I'm going to click on a roadway. It's going to send it over to PathWeb. I'll have to make note of the link that I had tried to see if there was an issue with that individual record or what was going on there. But this is what you should see. And again, PathWeb, just like the Ellis Proj system that we saw the links to from the project information page, had recently been updated. This PathWeb system recently got an upgrade. So it's new and streamlined. And there's probably training available for that, but if you have questions, the team that manages this is also within Office of Technical Services, so feel free to send an email. Okay. Another tool that we link to is Map Channel. This is a third-party tool, and you can click anywhere in the map. It doesn't have to be on a roadway. And recently, they added this front page. It's not the fanciest, but it still works, and once you get into it, it's a great tool. So just click this View Map. And you'll see that it combines multiple mapping views. I clicked out in a field, so it didn't activate my street view, but I can move my guy over to the street, turn on my street view, and as you navigate around, it will update everything. So here is the house that's in the project plans. So we can view that area. And you'll see as you move around, all of the windows update accordingly. So that's a good tool to have.
Catherine, I'm glad you highlighted these and mentioned it about the training, because we have hosted webinars on these before with Dave Gardner and his group, so maybe I could get them to commit to do a webinar again. I think it's been a couple of years. I wonder if the audience is interested in that at all, maybe they could enter that in the chat pod and let us know.
Yeah, we've also done some tech services outreach meetings in some of the districts where we have the full team showing all of these online applications. And so there's usually someone there. We always cover PathWeb as well. And it seems like everyone's really interested in PathWeb specifically. You can get so much information from that system. I believe, again, I'm not the expert, but I believe they've just linked in traffic AADT counts into the PathWeb system as well. So it's a really great addition. Okay, let's see what we have left under our tools menu. Just a basic tool for measuring. So we'll do a distance, see how many miles are covered by this project. Double click to complete, and it will report 0.996 miles. You can draw I find this useful usually if I want to add a little text note. If I'm going to print a PDF and I want to include a text note, you can do that with this tool. Activate by clicking draw. Click anywhere in the map. There you go. Okay, and the final tool is Bookmark. So this will, of course, you can set bookmarks in your browser, and that will get you to the TIMS map page. But if you want to zoom to a specific like XY location within the map portion of the page, you want to create a bookmark inside of TIMS, and that will be saved in TIMS as part of your browser settings until you go and clear your full browser history. So this PID that we're looking at now, 109.128, can give it any name that you would like. Just click Add. So say if I came back to TIMS and it opened up my full extent, I could open up my bookmarks and zoom back in to that area. Okay. And then we'll look at our filter tools. So we have 3 ways of filtering, and any of the layers that you have turned on to be visible in the map, you can access with these filter tools. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. So if we wanted to draw a graphic, just like when we use the Identify tool, we clicked on the map and it drew a small square. With this tool, you can control that shape. So you can draw a polygon. Just like the behavior with all the other tools, you activate the tool, and then you'll start drawing. So say I want to get all the features. I want to finish with a double click. Now you'll want to pick the table or the layer that you want to query. So you can see that it has my results layer, which is our highlighted project. But let's pull out all of the outfalls. And that will populate the results table with all of those records. And from there, you could export them out. Don't think I've touched on that before, as a spreadsheet or a shapefile. KMZ if you wanted to view it in Google Earth. And all the same functionality with that results table for sorting and zooming. Okay, another way you can draw a point. Let's clear that last graphic. Okay, activate again. Put a point there, and then I'm going to expand that point by defining a buffer. 500 meters around that point where I clicked. And then again, you'll want to double check your filter features from. Make sure you have the right layer. That last search I did generated another results table. And we'll look at that in the Layers tab in a minute so you can see how that's working. Let's pull out signs this time. And there you go. I've got 15 features. It's saying showing 1 of 10 of 15 features because I have my records per page filter set to 10. And to draw a line graphic is the same. You just will click once to start. You can go along and then double click to finish, and then you could create a buffer from that as well. Okay, filter by geography is going to be a way to report all of the features within a geographic boundary, just like with our find area tool. It'll be the same choices. So you'll pick the table that you want to search and then choose your geographic boundary. I won't click search this time because it'll probably give us a lot of results. But say if you wanted to get all the culvert records within a county, you could use this tool and then export those out as another file to do whatever analysis you wanted to do in another system.
Catherine, I'm excited. We have a question in the chat pod.
Yay!
Yay. So,
Questions?
Scott wants to know, can local cities and counties add data to TIMS? If so, is there an established procedure and/or contact at ODOT to facilitate coordination?
Yeah, if you would like to publish your information in TIMS, you can certainly contact us directly through that TIMS link from the contact link on the homepage. And now there will be a process. We'll get it on our agenda to review and assess if that's going to be a layer that's going to be useful statewide or to enough of an audience for us to rationalize, maintaining and developing that database. Sometimes we also bring through, if you already have your own GIS system and you're publishing to REST services, or if you already have a published map service, we can just consume that map service, and that doesn't require any development on our side. But there are a lot of options for us to incorporate your data into the TIM system. This final tool here, this Add Data button, you can upload your data if you want to view it alongside TIM's other TIMS layers, but this tool is limited to just this browser setting. So once you navigate away, that the information that you had uploaded through this tool won't show anymore. You'd have to re-upload it. But yeah, definitely, we always want to expand and make this the go-to site for all the spatial data that you would need. So definitely reach out to us and contact, and we can work it out.
He said thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think I had one more. Yeah, our filter by attributes. So if we wanted to, let's pick a table again. I think let's do culverts. So if we wanted to, I'm not sure I can tie this into our little scenario here, but let's just go through. So we'll have a drop-down list of all of our culverts. Let's go back and get if we had done by graphic, and then we'll have our list of culverts so we can get a quick look at the table. Or it won't let me, but that's okay. So I just wanted us to have like a quick view of the records that were available, so that we would have a heads up on what we were trying to search as we go into this attribute search tool. I'm going to go ahead and open this data glossary page. This would be the perfect time. And we'll just open it in a separate tab so we don't lose our place. And we can search for any field. So if I know I'm looking for something to do with the general appraisal, it will report all the tables that have a field of that name. You can clear that out. You can narrow down the list of data sets, again, just by typing to filter. And then once you've limited to a data set, you can again filter. So if I want to look for culverts in this area that give me an appraisal value, this will help me figure out what fields I'm going to be picking from that tool. While we're here on the data glossary page, you can see there'll be links to the side. The question mark, if you hover over that, will give you a description of the overall data set. and when it was last refreshed. So culverts are one of our Tier 1 assets. It's updated nightly. If you have a team, a crew in the field that's doing inspections and using the collector app, and they upload that new information today, when you come to TIMS tomorrow, you should see that latest information. And this date refresh date will be changed to May 31st. And then the second link, if that's activated, will take you to the office within ODOT that owns that data. So the Office of Hydraulic Engineering is the data owner of all of our culvert information. Okay, so we're going to do an attribute search with that general appraisal on our culverts. Filter by attributes. Now we want to add a filter. So I can start narrowing down by typing and to pick my general appraisal. I should have taken a minute to show, to highlight the description of the values in this field that the data glossary gives you. But it would explain the higher the number, the better the appraisal. So if we want to do at least 6, we'll get the better. So, okay, if I click search now, it's going to search the entire statewide inventory. I want to narrow that down more. I want to just report culverts that are on this Interstate Route 475. So I can add another filter. And let's see, we'll do NLFID is... This will be where I catch myself to not know what the NLFID is. Let's do route number. There we go. And we can use our knowledge that it's always going to be 5 digits. 0475. Okay, so you can see it's highlighted and created another results layer with the 151 culverts that are located along that route. So again, I could use my export tools or dig deeper into the results table and find out what I needed from there. We will clear that out, and let's go back to our Layers tab to take a look at how this results layer concept is working. So each time we do a search and it populates our results table, it saves that for this browser session in this category results layers. So I can turn them on and off, just like any other layer. Our original project line. I can, it's good to know that as you generate, it's always going to put the latest results at the top left. So this will be the last search that we did. And if I want to bring the results table back up, I just click the down arrow and show attributes. I hit the clear button, so it's going to be empty. Yeah. Smooth move, Katie. Okay. You can also clear them out through this drop-down list if you want to remove. So it's just good to know that as you're searching, it's going to generate these results layers. If you're doing a lot and you end up with a ton of results layers and it gets confusing, you can just start over by refreshing your browser or going back to the create a map link to start fresh. Okay, let's see what else we want to look at. We're back on the Layers tab, so let's look at some additional information. Let's see. Okay, so we know that we can pull this back up and zoom back to our demolition project today. And we know that that is a record from our results table that we narrowed down from our project search page. But we also have all that project information available through a couple of different filters under the projects category. So if I will turn off our results layer so we can If I turn on our current projects, we know that that's the construction is happening for this project right now. So we see it building demolition along 475. We have pavement marking. You can filter out projects by district work plan. And I believe that's going to include the current fiscal year through the next 5, or it's a total of 6 fiscal years. So we can see they have big plans right here. Building demolition, there's going to be a new interchange, and all of the projects that will be associated with that. Of course, you can just turn on all the projects. We have projects back to 2003, I believe, is when they started loading all this information into the Ellis application. So you can search everything that has happened or is planned to happen through the All Projects layer. We can dive into the environmental data grouping to see what kind of restrictions we have in this area if we're trying to plan our future workforce. As you can see, we do have some fill restrictions in that area. And again, you could use your identify button to get some more information. We can go into our roadway information. And again, this is all one file feeding each of these layers. So we have it different ways that you can view that layer, different attributes attached to that roadway information. So the parent layer road inventory, that's just going to be all of our primary routes. So we were talking about this before. What happens if there are 2 routes and they're overlapping? Yeah, I'm going to dive more into that, but yeah, I'm thinking that it would show. So if 475 and say, Interstate 71 were both like overlapping right here, I'm not sure how that would be represented. But when you turn on the road inventory layer, you'll see it's symbolized just by the basic route type. You can view traffic for that area and the traffic count stations.
We have another question that's come into the chat pod.
Okay.
Scott would like to know, are FEMA maps, firm maps, capital F, capital I, capital R, and capital M, an attribute and accessible in TIMS? Also, what about ODNR's MINE database?
Let's go search our data glossary and see if we can find out. I'm not sure what a firm map is. So if we want to know, let's see if we have anything FEMA, and we do not. I'm not sure what the firm is either, but we do have a lot of additional, no, that's not going to be it, information available in one of our map viewers that has more environmental related layers. So we will pause for a minute and go to that. So our map viewers page, and each of these map viewers has all the functionality of the Create a Map page. It's just that we've worked with a particular audience or office within ODOT to customize what they're viewing and symbolize it in a way that best suits their workflow. And for environmental, that included adding a bunch of layers that aren't available also in the Create a Map page. So let's see if we went under, so the limitations with the extra layers that are available in the environmental map viewer are that they are not going to be included in our data download page, and they will not have their descriptions loaded in the data glossary. Our Office of Environmental, what is their office called? But you can contact us and we'll get you to the right people to get more information or to get copies of those data sets. So let's see. He asked about firm and mines.
And FEMA.
Oh yeah, FEMA. So here we have National Flood Information from FEMA. Is that helpful? flood hazard zones. Trying to remember if I've ever seen anything about mines, because it does ring a bell. Mitigation would be spills.
Scott, do you want me to unmute you so you can ask your question? It says mines are from ODNR. I'm going to try unmuting you. You'll probably have to unmute yourself on your end too to talk through your PC. He's typing a message.
Okay. No, I don't want to talk. Believe me, I don't want to talk either. And he can certainly follow up with an email. I can connect him to our main contact in the environment office, and we can get more information on the specific data set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since I can't talk right now, I'm multitasking. Okay, Scott.
Thanks,
No
Scott.
problem. I'll go ahead and remute you. But
okay. Definitely that's something I want to follow up with afterwards. I love when people ask about different data sets that we don't have yet, because we really envision TIMS as being this one-stop destination for so much of the statewide data, that it's so great to hear what other people are looking for. So I'm going to take a note and hope that you follow up with an email so we can learn some more about that data. Okay, but let's see, we're getting close to 11, so I will wrap up. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, I wanted to also show, I turned on some traffic. I'm going to use my identify tool just to pull up any record, and show that we also link to our traffic database, our traffic application. I may have just frozen the whole thing. But just like we saw in some of the other tables, there's a hyperlink in the attribute table that will open up the traffic application. So let's see if there's anything else. I'll just try this one more time, and if it doesn't come up, then that's okay. There we go. So you can get a quick view of what that looks like. This is another system that's covered in our Tech Services Outreach. So if you're within ODOT and you're interested in having one of those in your district office, you can contact us about that. Okay, so the last page I don't think I've touched on is our standard PDF maps. And again, these all came about as we got requests to generate certain maps. So if you have a need, you can contact us about that. Multi-year work plan is like that district work plan that I had mentioned earlier. You can filter out by your geographic area. Click to generate the map, so it's working behind the scenes to pull all that together, and when it's done, this button will activate and you'll be able to download your PDF. At least it waited until towards the end to get really slow. There you go. So it has a basic legend and lots of labels because they are going to be doing a lot in this district in the next couple of years.
Okay. Well, it looks like Scott's typing one more message in the chat pod, but while he's doing that, I just want to thank everybody for being on the webinar this morning. Let's see, one last question. Does the multi-year include MPO and local projects?
Oh gosh, so many good questions. That's really knocking me out of my chair. Again, I'm not certain. I would think that all of the major projects planned for the upcoming fiscal years would be included, but I'm not sure about how it would be designated, if it's an MPO managed project or if it originated from the MPO. But again, if you have questions like that and I can't answer it, I can forward you to the right people and we can get those answers. So if it's something that you definitely want to follow up with, I will try to get your email address, Scott, and send a follow-up to you there, and then we can try to get answers for all these questions.
Yeah. Catherine, I'll definitely share all the email addresses with you, those who registered for today. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And thank you so much, Catherine, for offering the webinar this morning. We really appreciate it. If the recording was successful, we'll send a link out to you. So everybody have a good rest of your day and be safe out there. Thanks.